Chiefs news, analysis, and opinion every day. We have some very, very good news for the Kansas City Chiefs, and we have some maybe unfortunate news for the Kansas City Chiefs, or at least some unfortunate opinions about things in the NFL surrounding the Kansas City Chiefs, though not about the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs draft class is pretty roundly addressed as one of the best in the NFL. And we will see. I want to jump to this real quick, just so we don't bury the lead here. It says top 10 in the NFL. The Chiefs right now are listed at number 8 by Chris Trapasso of CBS Sports. But I want to put a little bit of a caveat on this. 8 out of 10 doesn't sound very impressive. Number 8 out of 32 sounds considerably more impressive. 8 out of 32 when you had the 31st pick in each round is even more impressive. But we have an opinion article from CBS Sports and aforementioned Chris Trapasso titled Ranking Top 10 Most Impactful 2025 NFL Draft Classes for Upcoming Season, Raiders Rookies Ready to Rock. A little bit of alliteration there. Which team's draft class will have the greatest impact this fall? And we're going to get into something once we get to that Chiefs entry here that is maybe short-sighted on the part of Chris Trapasso, but I don't think it is entirely uncommon for where the media is on this draft class. He starts off the article like this. I've already picked instant impact rookies. After this article, go read that one. But now let's go further than that, or maybe you can call this more zoomed out view. How about instant impact entire draft classes? Sounds fun, right? Getting valuable contributions from multiple rookies can transform a team in a given year, as those players are as cheap as they come in the NFL. Just ask the Washington Commanders, my number 1 pick in the 2024 iteration of this article, just building a little bit of rapport with yourself, saying, look, I've done this before, and I was correct. Written almost exactly 1 year ago, Washington rode Jaden Daniels, Mike Senristel, and Brandon Coleman all the way to the NFC title game in the Josh Harris ownership era, early in the Josh Harris ownership era. Now it's time to rank the top 10 instant impact classes from the 2025 draft. And we get back to the Kansas City Chiefs here at number 8. Impactful rookies, defensive tackle, Omar Norman-Lott. We can agree with that. Edge, Ashton Gillotte. The more I watch him, the more I think he could contribute 4 to 7 sacks as a rookie, which would be a real tick up for the Kansas City Chiefs. Cornerback Noel Williams, I'm not sure I agree on strictly from the fact that I think he's going to be the number 4 corner, but having a number 4 corner on the field as strong as Noel Williams may prove to be would be in itself really good for the Kansas City Chiefs. And wide receiver Jalen Royals, who might, from a numbers standpoint, be the number 1 rookie on the Kansas City Chiefs this season. Notably, absent from this is Josh Simmons, which can only mean Trapasso is saying he doesn't think Josh Simmons will play this season. That's the only thing that can mean, because if Simmons does play and is healthy, he's better than any left tackle the Kansas City Chiefs had on the roster last season. He's better than any left tackle the Kansas City Chiefs have had on the roster in quite some time, since the Dick Vermeil era, maybe. And guys, would revolutionize the Chiefs offense if he is in the NFL what it is that he looked to be in college, which is a huge caveat. But that's what we're doing with all of these guys. We're saying we think their productivity will translate to the NFL. If Josh Simmons' game translates to the NFL, he is an elite left tackle, something with which Mahomes has never played. Eric Fisher was a good left tackle, was not elite. The article goes on to say this: the Chiefs low-key had serious needs along the defensive front and addressed them in a big way with Norman Lott and Gelati in rounds 2 and 3, respectively. The Chiefs' product wasn't a high-volume player with the Tennessee product, wasn't a high-volume player with the Volunteers. When he was on the field, it was bad news for the interior blockers in the SEC. Very true. Gelati, get that off the screen real quick. We'll get back to that. Gelati doesn't wow athletically. He wins regularly with powerful handwork, elite-level hustle, and a sizable NFL-caliber frame. Williams is the man-to-man cover type who routinely crowds the catch point and whom Steve Spagnuolo will adore on the perimeter of his defense. I don't think Royals, with his yak brilliance in a compact frame, could have landed in a better situation than in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. All of these things are true. All of these things are undoubtedly true, but the icing on top would be if Josh Simmons is a starter anywhere along that line, because anywhere along that line, he would upgrade if he's healthy. We see him running around in rookie minicamp. We hear that he will be on target to be in contact drills at some point in camp. If Josh Simmons comes to reality this NFL season, this could be an elite draft class. This could be one of the better draft classes in Chiefs history. This could be a 2022 level game changer for the franchise. That is absolutely true. Now, some of these guys have to hit in ways that maybe they will, maybe they won't. But if they do, remember, at this time that year, I was saying, oh man, Leo Chanel is going to be the unquestioned starter week 1, snap 1. He is an absolute beast. They might line him up at defensive tackle. Maybe not defensive tackle. You see what I'm saying, though. He was able to do that in college. They put him in the A-gap, and it didn't matter. He just ran right through an offensive line and straight to the quarterback, and I was hoping he would have that impact in the NFL. He's been good, but he hasn't quite been what it was that he was in college. So there's always room for these players to not live up to expectations. But if they do, if half of them do, the big ones that I think will are Noel Williams and Jalen Royals. Those are the two that I really think, because defensive linemen, it's always tough to project. There are always so many guys that come out in the wash. But there's no doubt in my mind that Jalen Royals is going to be an impact player for the Kansas City Chiefs, and early on. Though when you look at it, it's interesting to look at how this is slotted out for the Kansas City Chiefs. Omar Norman-Lott, probably a starter. Ashton Gelati, I think you're looking at either edge 2 or 3. Depends on what happens across from George Karlaftis. Noel Williams, listed as an instant impact rookie, probably the 4th cornerback. Jalen Royals, listed as an impact rookie, probably the 4th wide receiver. But I think we're going to get back to seeing Patrick Mahomes as a 5,000-yard passer type. Now, the bad news. The number 1 team on this list was the Las Vegas Raiders, and guys, I don't think I disagree. When you look at this class, just the impact rookies listed here, Ashton Jeanty, yeah, we know that. We're going to have to deal with Ashton Jeanty for quite a while here. Now, I want to put it out there. I think the Raiders will have to have their offensive line in control and up to snuff in order for Ashton Jeanty to be who he can be in the NFL. Duh. But look at what happened with Priest Holmes. I think Ashton Jeanty is Priest Holmes. Everybody makes the Barry Sanders comparison. I don't see that. The production at the college level was the only thing we've seen close to Barry Sanders since Barry Sanders. But when I see Ashton Jeanty, I see Priest Holmes at the NFL level. And I think what that means is Priest Holmes was not Priest Holmes until he was behind that Dick Vermeil era offensive line. There's no sin in that. And once you got Priest Holmes to the second level, everybody was toast. But he had to be helped to that second level. He had to have good line play. Should the Raiders get that, this is an instant impact rookie. Jack Besh, however it is you say it, he's going to be a player in the NFL. Absolutely. Dante Thornton is one of the guys that I really liked in this class. I was hoping maybe he would sneak through and the Chiefs would get him late, but didn't happen. Tonka Hemingway, absolutely first-round caliber in the name draft. As far as on the field, not all that impressed, but one of the best names in this class. Now, Darian Porter and Caleb Rogers, I haven't done a whole lot of work on. I do not know there. I will trust the author. But they say this. This sentence feels like the opening line of an upcoming Batman movie, but it's a new dawn for this organization. General Manager John Spytek, the least known of the fresh faces at the top of the organization, hit a home run down the Vegas Strip with his inaugural draft class. Genty is the lightning in a bottle running back. Besh possesses the fine details of the wide receiver position many NFL veterans don't have, and Rogers played 4,300 snaps at 4 positions at Texas Tech. So that's the offensive guard here. Thornton doesn't have to be high volume. He can erupt downfield for a few snags per contest with 4.3 speed at nearly 6'5". Porter may actually take some time to mature into what he can fully become in the NFL, yet his length, athleticism, and receiver-like ball skills will allow him to generate some splash plays for the defense in year 1. Hemingway was a tremendous add in round 6, given his long-standing productivity on the inside in the SEC. His productivity was true and fine. If you get that, let me know in the comments section. The Raiders are coming in what has to become a significantly... more competitive AFC West. Now, also, the number 2 team on this list was the Buffalo Bills. So, make of that what you will, but we have here... I'm not worried about the Raiders, not yet. They would have to put together 2 or 3 really good drafts in a row to suddenly become competitors, and probably they'd have to get a free agent or 2 on track. I'm still not positive I understand what they're doing with the quarterback situation there, but it is what it is. This is going to be a competitive AFC West, and you can book it now. There will be people calling for the Raiders to win the AFC West. Ashton Genty will be on the cover of several magazines this summer, calling the Raiders the best in the West, etc. I don't think it's going to matter. The Chiefs are continuing to stack the bricks through the draft that build the fortress of Chiefs Kingdom. And it's really impressive what they've been able to do by drafting so late in each round. If you look back to the 21 draft, they were reaching, right? Everybody kind of said Nick Bolton and Creed Humphrey were third rounders. Well, the Chiefs took them in the second. And what does that mean? That means the Chiefs got them. The Chiefs got them and they were starters immediately. And they got value in round 6 with Trey Smith. That was necessary because the Chiefs had, and this is something that it took me a while to figure out. Why do that? Why overdraft a middle linebacker and a center when you probably could have had them in the third? Well, you couldn't have definitely had them in the third. When the second was there, you definitely could have had them and you got them. And they've been starters ever since. The Chiefs aren't there right now because they have depth at so many positions. So there's no place where they are desperate for help. And Brett Veach made sure of that heading into the draft by signing contributors in so many different places. So it's interesting that the way that they have put themselves in this position to mostly draft the best player available. So if the best player available is at a position of need, you strike gold twice. Anyway, guys, that's what I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting a like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. We are over 2 years of consecutive daily uploads, and as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.